It was funny, in the cruel way life sometimes is, that I could run into burning buildings without fear but froze the moment I saw him smile at me. And maybe that was the first fire I couldn't put out, the one that started in my chest. The summer heat in our small Midwestern town pressed against the old firehouse like it wanted to swallow us whole. I had just finished a 12-hour shift, sweat sticking my shirt to my back, when I came home to the tiny apartment I shared with Eric. He wasn't supposed to be there. He usually worked late shifts at the local bookstore, but when I opened the door, the lights were low, and the sound of pencil scratching against paper filled the silence. Eric was sitting on the couch, bent over a sketchbook, his dark hair falling into his eyes. He didn't hear me come in. For a moment, I just stood there, caught off guard. His face was calm, focused, but there was something else, a softness I never got to see when we talked about bills, groceries, or whose turn it was to take out the trash. "Hey," I said finally, my voice hoarse from smoke and exhaustion. He looked up, startled, then gave me that small, almost shy smile he always did. "Rough day." You could say that. I dropped my gear bag by the door, my body aching. 3 calls in 6 hours. One of them wasn't good. Eric didn't push, didn't ask. He just closed the sketchbook gently, like it was a secret, and set it aside. That was Eric, quiet, private, but steady in a way I'd come to rely on without realizing it. I collapsed into the chair across from him, stretching my legs out. For a few seconds, silence wrapped around us again, broken only by the hum of the old fridge. But my eyes kept drifting back to the sketchbook on the table. "What were you working on?" I asked. He hesitated, then gave me a nervous shrug. "Nothing. Just doodles." But something in the way he avoided my eyes made my curiosity sharpen. I leaned forward, teasing. "Come on, man. I've lived with you for almost a year and you still hide that thing like it's classified." His cheeks colored, and he shook his head quickly. It's not something you'd want to see." And that was the moment I should have let it go. But maybe because I just watched a family lose their home. Maybe because my own chest felt too heavy with things I never said. Pushed. I reached forward and flipped open the sketchbook before he could stop me. What I saw made me forget how to breathe. Page after page, drawings of me, in uniform, without it. My face caught mid-laugh, my hands tightening my boots, my body leaning over the counter in the kitchen. And they weren't crude doodles. They were detailed, almost painfully tender. Like he'd memorized me. Eric froze, his knuckles white against his knees. His whole body looked like it wanted to disappear. "Jesus," I whispered, flipping through. The art was good. Too good. My throat went dry. "Eric, these are. Give it back." His voice cracked, low and desperate. I looked at him, then really looked. His eyes were wide, terrified, and shimmering with something he couldn't say. And suddenly, the pieces fell into place. The late nights, the careful distance he kept from me, even when we laughed over beers. The way he sometimes looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. The fire in my chest spread. I handed the sketchbook back, my hands shaking. "Eric, is this?" He snatched it from me, hugging it to his chest. His jaw clenched. "It's nothing." Forget it. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. The silence between us roared louder than any siren. I opened my mouth, searching for words, but none came. My world, the one built on brotherhood, bravery, and small-town expectations, tilted under my feet. Because for the first time, I realized I wasn't shocked in the way I thought I'd be. I wasn't disgusted. I wasn't angry. I was terrified because some part of me wanted it to be true. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the look on Eric's face when I'd seen his secret. Not just the fear but the shame. The way he curled into himself as if he'd already been condemned. I thought about the firehouse. About the guys I worked with. How they joke. Roughhouse. Talk about women in the locker room. If they ever found out about Eric, about us. If there ever could be an us, he'd be destroyed. And maybe I would too. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw those sketches. Saw myself through Eric's eyes. And it did something to me I didn't have the words for. The next morning, I found him in the kitchen, making coffee. He didn't look at me. Didn't say a word. Eric. I started. My voice rough. Don't. His shoulders were stiff. His back turned. Just forget it happened. I can't. He froze, the coffee pot trembling in his hand. Slowly, he set it down, still not facing me. You don't get it. He whispered. If people find out. I stepped closer, my heart pounding like it did when flames surrounded me. I don't care about people. I care about what's real. He turned then, finally meeting my eyes, and what I saw there almost broke me. A lifetime of hiding, of being afraid, of wanting and never reaching. You don't know what you're saying. He said softly. Maybe I don't. I admitted. But I know one thing. When I saw those drawings, it didn't scare me the way you think it did. His lips parted, a flicker of hope warring with disbelief. Then what did it do? He asked. I swallowed hard, my chest tight. It made me realize I've been lying to myself a long time. The silence that followed was heavier than smoke. But in it, something shifted. For the first time, Eric didn't look away. We didn't talk about it for days after. Life went on the firehouse. His bookstore shifts. Shared dinners in front of the TV. But everything felt charged. Electric. Like the air before a storm. Every glance lingered too long. Every brush of his hand against mine when we passed in the hallway left sparks under my skin. And yet, neither of us dared cross the line. Because we both knew what waited on the other side, not just love, but the weight of a world that wanted to crush it. But one night, after another brutal shift, it happened. I came home covered in soot. Exhausted, shaking from an adrenaline crash. Eric was waiting, pacing the living room, his face pale. You're late, he said, his voice trembling. There was a collapse. I muttered, dropping my gear. Thought I wasn't getting out this time. Before I could take another step, he crossed the room and grabbed my arm. His hands were tight, desperate. His eyes burned. Don't say that, he whispered. I stared at him, at the fear written all over his face. And something inside me broke. Without thinking, pulled him in. Our lips met, rough and trembling, years of silence crashing into a single moment. And for the first time, I wasn't just surviving fire. I was burning in it. The kiss wasn't neat, wasn't gentle. It was desperate, clumsy, charged with all the words we hadn't said in months, maybe years. I felt Eric's hands twist in the fabric of my shirt, pulling me closer, as if he was afraid I'd disappear. My heart slammed against my ribs like it was trying to escape. When we finally broke apart, breathing hard, Eric stumbled back, eyes wide with disbelief. His lips were red, trembling. "We can't," he whispered. His voice cracked like glass. I reached for him, but he flinched, torn between wanting and running. "Eric, no," he said again, shaking his head, tears threatening his eyes. "You don't understand. If this gets out, if anyone at the firehouse finds out, you'll lose everything. They'll never trust you in there again. And me." His voice dropped. "I've spent my whole life hiding just to survive." The words hit me like cold water. But I couldn't step back now. "I don't care what they think," I said, maybe too fiercely. "I care about you." He stared at me, torn between hope and fear, the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders. Then, like someone cut the thread holding him together, he sank down on the couch, burying his face in his hands. "You don't get it, Jake," he whispered. "This town, it eats people like us alive." The days that followed were fragile, like walking on glass. We didn't talk about what happened, but everything was different. His hand brushing mine in the kitchen wasn't an accident anymore. The way his eyes lingered on me across the living room carried something we couldn't stuff back into silence. But reality had teeth. At the firehouse, jokes turned sharper. The guys teased me about not dating, about why I always rushed home after shifts instead of hitting bars with them. One night, sitting around the worn-out couch in the station, someone tossed out, "Maybe Turner's got himself a secret boyfriend." Laughter erupted, loud and thoughtless. I forced a smile, but inside, I burned. Not from shame, but from the knowledge that they weren't as far off as they thought. That night, I came home late, still smelling like smoke, and found Eric sketching again. This time, he didn't hide the book when I walked in. He looked up, his eyes tired but defiant. "I'm not sorry about the other night," he said softly, "but I can't be the reason you lose everything." I sat beside him, close enough that our knees touched. Maybe it's not about losing everything. Maybe it's about finally having something real. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. His hand trembled where it rested on the sketchbook. I reached for it, covering his fingers with mine. "Eric," I whispered, "I've run into fires knowing I might not come out. But this, you scare me more than any of that because I've never wanted something this badly." His breath caught. And then, slowly, he leaned into me, letting his head rest against my shoulder. It should have been perfect after that. But life doesn't hand out happy endings so easily. One evening, after a brutal double shift, I walked into the apartment to find the door slightly open. My stomach dropped. Inside, the place was a mess, the sketchbook thrown open on the floor. pages scattered. And standing there, flipping through them with a sneer, was Matt, one of the guys from the station. "What the hell is this?" he barked, holding up a drawing of me shirtless, every line tender and deliberate. Eric stood frozen across the room, pale as chalk. "Matt, put it down," I growled, my voice low. "Dangerous." But Matt just laughed, waving the sketch like a weapon. "So it's true. Our golden boy's shacking up with his little boyfriend. Jesus. Turner. Wait until the guys hear about this." Rage surged hot and fast through me. I stepped forward, ripping the page from his hand and shoving him back toward the door. "You don't get to say a damn word," I hissed. Matt's grin faltered, replaced with something meaner. "You think you can hide this forever? The whole town's gonna eat you alive." And then he was gone, slamming the door behind him, leaving silence and destruction in his wake. Eric collapsed onto the couch, shaking. "It's over," he whispered. "We're finished." "No," I said firmly, kneeling in front of him, forcing him to look at me. "We're not finished. Not unless you walk away." Tears welled in his eyes. "You don't know what's coming." "Then let it come," I said. "We'll face it together." The fallout came fast. Whispered rumors at the firehouse. Cold stares at the grocery store. My captain pulled me aside one morning, his expression tight. "I don't care what you do in your free time, Turner," he muttered. "But this department doesn't need distractions. Keep your head down." The message was clear: disappear, or lose everything. But I couldn't keep my head down anymore. Not when the man I loved spent every night looking over his shoulder like the world was about to crush him. One night, as thunder rattled the windows, I found Eric packing a bag. "I can't stay here," he said, his voice breaking. "I can't watch them tear you apart because of me." I grabbed the bag, yanking it from his hands. "Stop running." His eyes flashed, raw and broken. "I've been running my whole damn life. It's the only way I survive." "Then let me run with you," I pleaded. "Or better yet, let's stop running. Together." For a long, terrible moment, he just stared at me, breathing hard. Then, slowly, the fight drained from his shoulders. He collapsed against me, burying his face in my chest. "Jake," he whispered. "If we do this, there's no going back." I held him tighter. "Good. I don't want to go back." The weeks that followed weren't easy. The firehouse grew colder, but a few of the guys surprised me quiet nods. Quiet support, like they respected me more for standing firm. The town, too, wasn't all cruel. Some neighbors stopped by, leaving pies, casseroles, quiet words of "you're brave." It wasn't universal acceptance, but it was enough to show us that maybe the world wasn't all against us. One evening, Eric and I sat on the balcony, the sun dipping low behind the rooftops. His sketchbook rested on his lap, open to a page of the two of us, me in uniform, him beside me, our hands linked. "I used to think love was something other people got to have," he said quietly. "Not me." I kissed his temple, my arm wrapped around him. You were wrong. For the first time in a long time, his smile wasn't weighed down by fear. We sat there until the stars came out. Two men in a small American town, finally unafraid to face the fire together. And in that moment, I realized something simple, something undeniable. I hadn't just found someone to come home to. I'd found someone worth fighting the whole damn world for. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.